Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and today I want to show you how to make a single coil wrapped bead. You can see this technique in the Bracelet of Bhutan. Basically, these are just these beads that I have strung onto our faux leather cord. So it's just a simple coil around a coil. So I'll show you how to do that today. And for this project, we're going to need some 18 gauge wire, some 24 gauge wire, a ruler. You're also going to need the Wubbers bail making pliers in size medium, which is the 3mm and the 5mm. You'll need a pair of flush cutters, and you'll also need some nylon tip pliers to help straighten your wire. To begin, take your 18 gauge wire and pull out about 9 to 10 inches or so. And you can use your nylon pliers to just go ahead and gently run it across to help straighten out your wire from your coil. So now you're going to take your flush cutters. You're going to measure out, we'll do 9.5 inches. Always better with your wire wrapping to err on the side of safety. That way if you end up running out of room, you have an extra inch. So go ahead and just snip that off. And you can set your 18 gauge wire aside. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take the 5mm side of your Wubbers pliers and go ahead and place it in between. And you're just going to twist. And just move the pliers as you go. So keep it tight up against the Wubbers pliers. So continue to coil. And when you get to the back side here, you'll just go up and over. So you just continue, and you're going to do 3 full coils, and you just move it around, and as you can see, this is loose on the pliers, so it's not very tight. So this is my last coil here, and I get to that point where the 3 full coils match up. So now I'm going to take this off my pliers and set this down. Taking your 24 gauge wire, go ahead and use your pliers and straighten out some of this wire from the coil. It'll get coiled anyway, but it's just easier to work with if it's a little bit straighter. So now, what I've learned with doing this technique is that to create this coil, you need about 3 inches of it wrapped here, which equals about 30 inches of this wire. Now again, like I said before, you can't ever add more wire. But what you can do is do this little trick that I do when I'm trying to figure out how much wire I actually need. So here we have about, let's see, there's 10. We'll do about 20 inches of wire. Now, I just said that we needed 30 to do this project, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on the spool. I'm not going to cut this because once you cut it, that's as much as you have. And trust me, once you start to do many of these, you'll want to make sure that you always have enough. So go ahead and take your long piece of wire now, and what you're going to do is just bend it over and wrap it around once. So you have it's attached to the spool, and you have the tail going off that way. Now, I find that it's easier to hold this wire when it's attached to the spool, so it will actually make your wire wrapping a little bit tighter and easier for you. So go ahead and grip it tightly, and don't worry about bending this wire, it'll get coiled anyway. So go ahead and just, all you're gonna do, and the first few coils are always tough, but go ahead and just wrap and keep them as close as you can. And you're just going to keep wrapping. Now as you notice, this is a little bit further away. Don't worry about that. We can scoot that together a little bit later. So just keep wrapping. And you're going to continue wrapping until you've finished this entire tail. So as you come to the end of your wire here, You can just finish the last few couple coils and just keep going around and around. And once you get towards where it starts to get harder because your tail gets so short, it's okay because we have all the wire we need here on our spool. So go ahead and just clip this wire. And you can take your nylon pliers and just kind of pinch it in. Make sure it doesn't stick out and poke you. We have the coil on here, and as you can see, my wire has been bent a little bit, but again, don't worry about that. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna scoot this coil all the way up until it meets right there where we've created. So let's measure. So we have about 2 inches of coil, and I said we needed about 3 inches. So go ahead and uncoil some more of your 24 gauge wire. Straighten it out a little bit. And we started with about 20 inches, so here's 10 inches, and I'm going to err on the side of safety and do a little bit extra. And I'm going to go ahead and clip that off. So now I have my tail coming out the other side. So all I need to do now is to continue to wrap an extra inch. So we'll just do that with this tail. So as we do our last few wraps here, you just kind of keep measuring and seeing if you're getting close to 3 inches of your coil. So just straighten it out with your fingers there and measure just the coil from there to the end. And it looks like we're just under 3 inches, so I'm going to do a few more. And the longer your tail is, the easier it is to maneuver the wire. I always consider it sort of the sacrifice of wire wrapping, is that you're just gonna have to cut off those tails if you want to get a good tight wrap. So that actually gives me just a bit over 3 inches, but I'm okay with that. Let me just scooch this down. And then again, take my flush cutters and cut off my tail. Take my nylon pliers and just tuck that guy in. Just a little squeeze. Okay, so now we're actually going to get to make the coil. With it facing this way on this side, what you're going to do is you're just going to slip it back into your Wubbers pliers. Go ahead and slip it a little bit further down because you're going to create the bead on top. So gently with your pliers, you don't need to press very hard. What you're going to do is just coil around and just move your pliers and coil. And don't worry about the coil separating. That will happen naturally, but it kind of gives it that sort of ridged look, as you can see. So keep going. You should actually get about 4 rotations. So you see the edge will line up with the other edge right there. So then we just continue, and we're just going to wrap the tail of our 18 gauge wire. You're going to want to make sure to wrap it a full 3 times in order to get the back to match up. So we have the tip there, the tip there, the tip there, and now I'm going to remove this from my pliers and snip off our little sacrifice tail. And that's it. So that is how you make the beads that go on the Bracelet of Bhutan, and it's a single coil wrapped bead.